Guess what? I'm gonna say something about it. Because you know why? Just like you ain't gonna, like your boy said, it ain't gonna happen. Guess what? I'm not letting nobody sell you drugs without me saying it. I'm not gonna do it. You know why? Nobody tells you crack. You know why? Because I never saw you before. But you're a black man like me. My whole life was trying to find something to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow. Felt pain and a lot of sorrow. Got betrayed, so vexed. I didn't even have my heart broke. Living confused, about to lose hope. Cops got me on the side of the road like a sideshow. Need an antidote before I stroke. Now I'm setting fire to prison man blues, but it's bizarre smoke. Rebel with no cause, trying to find direction. The world got me vexed. Picked up a bad nigga habit that's already turned from oppression. But like my life was on fire, trying to find an exit. Now look, 10 G's busting good break. Sometimes a follower is a soldier, trying to find a good ship. Plus when you in hell, how did you excel? Wisdom the breath of life, on the evil fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No corner can cause pain. Something that a rebel knows very well. They can tell I was sent from the Lord. Got a tongue like a two-edged sword. With a style that they might just record. The only thing equal is the curse for the wicked and the righteous reward. Have mercy on the many don't see. Separated from the tares. Now on my prayers and it's so big. A rebel take the world by word of mouth. U.P.K, we the rebels that you heard about. And it ain't gonna stop till 100 virgins in the house and I'm hanging verdicts out. Yeah, right, you ain't heard a count without a shadow of a doubt. These devils hitting licks off us. Fuck the bank, I'm about to throw the pocket, ticket off us. Can't sweet talks, cannot stop. Plus I know the feds watching us. Tell the people that they church full of witch doctors. Put us in prison and stop violence. Meanwhile, U.P.K turning rebels into Rottweilers. They leave for mighty men. And now I understand things that never truly made sense. Like why I'm crying at the funeral for a criminal. No, he ain't innocent. It's fucked up. But my boots shine. Standing between two priests about to blaze on their ass. Call it tough love. Look out for niggas just love. And wouldn't touch a white bitch with OJ's black love. Father, forgive me for my error. I'm forever by your side. Cleaning first fit of all my flaws. This the reason I'm alive. Thank God for this truth. Cause for a long time was a rebel without a cause. Look, man. First time I met YAHANNA, man, in 3807. Rebel without a cause. My little daughter was opening the door. He was dropping the truth on me and all that. Rebel without a cause. Man, you know. Through your time, we taking them out and taking the hand-to-hand combat. Rebel without a cause, it's the reason I'm alive. Thank God for this truth, cause for a long time, it's a rebel without a cause. You cannot whoop us. We're already dead. We're already beaten down. We've been beaten down for 400 years. We already got the wounds inside and outside our bodies. How you gonna hurt us? You cannot threaten us. You cannot frighten us. We live in the most frightening places, under the most frightening conditions. We are immune to fear. We are immune to harm. You see what I'm saying? You have stepped into a cesspool. You're the only one gonna get infected.
Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. Yah B'Hashem Yashai Barakatah. To all the Akim, Yah Shema'al Athah B'Hashem Yashai. To all the sisters. This is Priest and Officer 50 Shar 1 under Commanding General YAHANNA, and we are the I.S.U.P.K. Tonight is Tuesday night's Brotherhood class. Got a couple things for you today. We're going to get into an article. Tonight's topic is on blacks because of racism and COVID and different issues inside the black churches. they are recently, and this has been going on for a while. They are leaving the Christian church. A lot of brothers and sisters in our community are looking for solutions to a lot of the problems going on at home, and they're not finding those answers inside the Christian church. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to start off reading an article. Just 1 second. Share screen. So yeah, again, this is Tuesday night's Brotherhood class. Following Yahawashi, following Christ, Yahawashi, who the world calls Christ. It involves two things. It involves two things. It's a lot more than just keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. All right, Christ came, he taught brotherhood, and we're gonna get into why it's important. Put my screen. Okay, so this article, let me zoom in a bit. So this article is titled The Church's Black Exodus. And it says, Pastors' silence on racism and COVID-19 is driving Black parishioners away from their congregation. And like I said, this has been going on for a while. And this is just an article just talking about some of the issues, some of the more recent issues going on in these churches. And it says, across the country, Black Americans feel under siege from the coronavirus pandemic and raw from the police brutality fueling Black Lives Matter protests. But some are nursing another intimate wound, their church's failure to acknowledge their pain. Many Black parishioners, and parishioners is another word for, it's like a churchgoer or a church member or attendee. So it says, many Black parishioners, especially those at multiracial institutions, bristle when they hear rhetoric from church leaders that ignores how health inequities and racism are affecting the Black community right now. Others are hurt by their church's conspicuous silence on these issues. The result is a quiet but resolute contingent of Black church members leaving their congregation to seek spiritual healing elsewhere. Right? And again, this is something that's been going on for a while. It's nothing new for Blacks, Hispanics, or Native Indians to go to church and not get solutions to their everyday problems. Right? The Christian church has a lot of like fantasy stories and mysticism just about their religion, but they're not giving practical solutions to their members to their everyday problems. Right? It says, leaving one church represents a personal loss for the individual, but the institution also suffers when parishioners decide to take their valuable perspectives away from the flock. It's still too early to quantify exactly how many Black churchgoers nationwide have made such a decision, or how many might still leave their church if their concerns aren't addressed. The parishioners who spoke with me, however, had very similar stories, pointing to a potential trend. And I'll share this article. I'll put the link to the article in the chat, so if anybody wants to read it for themselves, they can go ahead. And this is an article from The Atlantic. It says, like others I talked with, Delisha, 58, isn't one to miss church. For the past 7 years, she has made sure to be in the faithful number of a large, multicultural New Orleans congregation. But after the pandemic hit in March, she decided to attend services only via live stream. Black, black people like her are disproportionately at risk for severe illness or death from COVID-19. And Delisha, who lives with her elderly mother and daughter with asthma, has hypertension. What she saw on video one Sunday dismayed her. As the camera panned over the congregation, she noted that some people had masks on and some didn't. The church did not require them. What's more, the pastor, who is white, scolded the missing members over live stream. Why are y'all not here today? You scared? So not only are not only has this pandemic going on, COVID-19 over the past year, not only are Christians inside these congregations scared, they don't have a solution to the problem going on. And their pastors are straight up mocking the members, saying, "What are you scared about? Why aren't you coming to church?" And the reason she's not coming is because she doesn't have a solution. She doesn't have a solution to her problems going on at home, or her everyday problems. And again, this is something that the Christian church never addresses. It says, Delisha was appalled that blew me away, she said. I am a black woman with pre-existing conditions. That's why I'm not there. She felt like the pastor was failing to empathize with parishioners who had been dealt staggering blows by the pandemic. Then, as the George Floyd protest began later in the spring, Delisha waited in vain for her church's leaders to express their concern over his killing. Yeah, this has been a crazy year. There's been a lot going on in the news. And it appears that the pastor isn't addressing any of this lady's everyday concerns. She received no church email, no newsletter, no pulpit address on racial injustice, just silence. Damn. She's decided that she will not return to her place of worship once the pandemic ends. While she hasn't terminated her membership officially, she's no longer attending services virtually. And this is going all over the world in churches. They don't have answers to people's everyday problems. I heard there was someone in the chat just, I think, yesterday, and they were talking about there was a person who had some issue either with their son or their daughter, and they were asking people for advice on how to deal with their son or daughter. And there was a Christian. She looked like a minister or pastor or something. Like she led some kind of congregation. And she put a message to the person who started the post and said, all you need is Jesus. Jesus will fix all your problems. And somebody asked her, somebody replied to that pastor and said, how is how is Jesus going to fix my issues? Or how is Jesus going to solve these issues? And this this minister or pastor, whatever she was, she replied, figure it out. If you can't figure it out for yourself, that's your problem. And again, that's a disgusting thing to say to somebody when, again, people have real issues, real problems. They're looking for some kind of leadership. They're looking for answers to everyday problems, whether it be in their marriage, with their kids, something at work. And they're giving answers from the Christian church, like, oh, just pray about it. Just talk to Jesus. Jesus will fix all your problems. And that's an evil thing for a leader to do, right? Like that's a wicked thing for people in the community that we look up to solve our everyday problems, right? If you had any sense of morality, you should at least step down and say, look, I don't got the answers to your questions. You're gonna have to find it somewhere else. Don't sit there and pretend like you have the answers to all these people and don't help them with their everyday life. Hey, shalom, Officer Yerad, Yahba Shemeshai Barakatah.
Hey, shalom, Yahweh.
Hey, shalom, shalom. I'm just right now. I'm just going over an article, and this article is just talking about Black people leaving the Christian church due to the racism that's been going on over this last year, a lot of the stuff in the news, and because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Um, can you see the article okay? Did you want me to make it bigger or
Khan, you can blow it up a little.
blow it up a little? Calm.
Khan, Khan, Tawada. Khan,
I know, bro. No sweat.
that's good.
So Slovakia, where was it? All right, so it says it's not uncommon for people of color who attend multiracial churches to hear very little about racism, says David Swanson, 43, the founding pastor of New Community Covenant Church in Chicago. Instead of supporting systemic change, some white Christians view racial reconciliation as a matter of fellowship among churchgoers of different races, something that can be achieved through interpersonal relationships. As a result, churches may not perceive the need to acknowledge or lament racial injustice. Others might hesitate to endorse Black Lives Matter because of ideological differences with the national organization and its founders. But Black parishioners' desire for recognition doesn't mean they're ideologically aligned with the national group. They just want to know that their congregation values them. If more Black Christians leave their church, their absence threatens to tilt congregations' demographics toward the segregated status quo. So again, something going on in these churches right now is over this last year, because of all the deaths that's been happening to our people, from the police violence, gang violence, whatever it may be. People in the Black community are looking for answers from their pastors, and because their congregation is integrated with other races of people, they don't want to talk about these subjects, right? They don't want to talk about the issues going on with people because they're scared of losing members, right? They're scared of being in the spotlight. These pastors are scared of saying the wrong thing. They don't want to lose members. right? From any race of people, right? And that's a disgusting thing to do as a leader, right? The scriptures say in the book of Revelations, the fearful won't inherit the kingdom of heaven, right? You're a pastor and you're afraid of losing members, or you're afraid of talking about um, socially charged or motivated um, social issues, right? How are you supposed to lead your congregation, right? You're supposed to tell the people who to vote for, right? What their best interest is for the people who are going to lead the country. You should be talking about government. You should be talking about social issues. You should be talking about how to help the people in your congregation at work, in their marriage, and everywhere they go in life, right? That's your job as a pastor. That's your job as a minister, right? You're supposed to shepherd your people. You're supposed to lead your people, not be afraid to speak up about what's going on in the world, right? It says Swanson has framed the stakes of churches' silence in stark terms. A multiracial church which never confronts white supremacy is a white church, he tweeted in April. By that he meant it's a church still mostly interested in white people's comfort. Swanson explained to me over the summer, put another way, a church's silence on police killings communicates almost a clear message as all lives matter. And again, you're a pastor, you're afraid to speak up on the things going on, right? Your congregation isn't stupid, right? You're leaving them without answers to their problems. You don't want to talk about a killing from a police officer on a black man. Your members are saying you're taking a side by being silent, right? A righteous man speaks up when he sees evil. A righteous man gives honor to somebody or praise to somebody who's doing something good. A righteous man is going to lead you in the way you're supposed to be led, right? Christ taught his disciples how to live in every area of their life, not just one or two things, right? What happened to George Floyd, that was a disgusting thing. You have to speak up on things like that. You have to tell your people in your congregation, what to be afraid of, what not to be afraid of, or how to conduct yourself when you go out in these streets, right? A black man just got murdered by a police officer, and you're not going to give the black people in your congregation a solution. You're not going to give them step by steps on how to live, right? That's a disgusting thing to do to the people that are following you. It says Amber Wright, 39, felt a jolt of recognition when she read Swanson's tweet this spring. The absence of church-wide stand against police brutality had frustrated Wright for years. I remember there was no comment or commentary at my multiracial church about Trayvon Martin or the series of black people slain in the streets, she told me. By the time of Floyd's killing on May 25th, Wright knew she was done with that church. It's important to us that we go to a church where we feel the leadership can call these issues out in a way that speaks to the worth of my life and the life of my husband and my children, she said. Yeah, that's a disgusting thing, right? To Amber Wright, if you were in the ISUPK, we would let you know, right? The white man is the devil the Bible speaks of, right? We would tell you exactly what's going on in your community. We would tell you exactly the reason why Trayvon Martin was murdered, right? This kingdom that we're living in is an evil place, and we got to separate ourselves from it.
Right.
Right? We would give you a solution to all these slain children. We're not just going to leave you out there just to wonder and figure things out for yourself. We're going to give you protection. We're going to let you know who the devil is, who to stay away from, who to bring your kids near, what communities to be a part of, right? Who you should socialize with, who you shouldn't socialize with, right? It says, many black parishioners swallow their discomfort with churches' lack of attention to racism because they, like the diversity of multiracial congregations, although Wright has found memories of growing up in a traditional Black Baptist church, she said she appreciates the contemporary culture of non-denominational multiracial congregations. Delisha said she feels more at home in a multi-ethnic church because it embodies her vision of racial harmony in heaven. Damn. So this woman, she envisions heaven being multiracial. And that's again, that's a big part of the problem. You're seeing all these injustice happen to your people by a very specific race of people, and because of people like Martin Luther King, you believe it's a good thing to be integrated. That's why your pastor doesn't have the answer for you, because he's not going to tell you to stand up and segregate, right? He's more worried about collecting those tithes and offerings so that he can build his church. He's not there to help you. You got to separate from these people. And this sister's going to go out, leave this church, and she's going to be looking for the same crap. She's not going to find her answer in the Christian church. It says, historically, black churches have ignored their congregation's needs in recent months too. Some churchgoers are angered by church leaders clinging to attendance as a barometer of faithfulness, even during the pandemic. Pastors keep wanting people to come to church based off of faith, but then they don't even go to see people in the hospital because of the risk. Terrence Thomas, 45, the pastor of Bethel AME Church in Champaign, Illinois, told me, this contradiction feels especially callous to those grieving losses from COVID-19. Yeah, these pastors, up and down, everything about them is off. Everything about them is corrupt. Everything about them is evil. All right? You want people to come to your church, but you're not willing to go visit them in a hospital? It's full. The Christian church is full of hypocrisy. The unrest in cities across the country also threw into sharp relief a schism between older clergy upset by property damage and those who believe. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, that a riot is the language of the unheard. Pastors who are politically more conservative than their congregation risk alienating their flock when they voice displeasure about looting. And that's exactly what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to voice our opinion. We're supposed to alienate the flock. We're supposed to protect the flock from the wolves, right? That's our job as leaders, to protect our people. And pastors are, they are scared. They're very scared of speaking their mind. They're very scared of stepping into politics because they don't want to lose their congregation. almost done. A couple more things. It says they also risk losing parishioners if they stick to preaching only on matters of the soul. In the middle of a social unrest, people don't want to hear about the by and by. People will leave the church and they'll leave the faith, Thomas said. For many black Christians, the black church provides a sanctuary for both their culture and their faith. It's where they were raised and where they want to raise their children. The decision to abandon it often means severing deep social ties. And what's heavy about that is that this Bible is our culture, right?
Great.
This Bible is how we're supposed to conduct ourselves in social settings. How we talk to our brothers, how we treat our brothers, how we treat our women, our wives, our kids, our mothers. Everything about this book is a social structure. You're a Christian pastor and you don't want to talk about social issues, like that's a just close the book. Just close the book. And the last part says, leaving the church as an institution is the next step for Marie, a campus minister at a university who has boycotted her Methodist church's services since Pentecost Sunday. In May, while providing remote support to students struggling with racism, the sudden loss of housing and family bereavement, she lost more than 5 family members to COVID-19, but no one from her church reached out. We had a brother who just passed away not too long ago. Everybody in this body prayed for that man. We had brothers travel from all over North America to go see the brother's name Makataza Khan. I think everybody drove from all over North America to see that brother's family, to go to that brother's funeral, to reach out to his family, ask them how they're doing. Right? One soldier in the school dies, everybody knows about it. Everybody's going to support that family. We're going to teach on how to deal with death, how to deal with loss. We don't leave anybody in this body behind. Right? And that's on a big loss like death. There was a brother going through something a couple days ago, and there was an order sent out to pray for this brother. And the Most High sees what we do in closed doors, right? I know I took the time to pray for that brother. There was another brother going through something. I prayed for that brother. I prayed for his wife, that everybody would be safe, right? That's our job. This was a brother that we got to lift each other up. We got to be there for each other. Nobody can be left to fall and go through life struggling in this school. We're not just going to leave somebody to struggle out on their own. It's not what the body of Christ does. There's a scripture that talks about we're all members of the body. You're a brother or sister in this school. You could be and this is a parable, but you picture a body. You're one member in the school. You could be a piece of hair on someone's head. Somebody else could be a toe. Somebody else could be a fingernail. Somebody else could be a knee, an elbow. But we're all one body. We all represent each other. We all have to work together to operate. Right? We lose an eye, the whole body struggles. The whole body feels it. And that's what we got to do in the body of Christ. We can't just leave members out on their own. Well, again, that's just just some of the disgusting things going on in the Christian church. I don't want to stay on this article too long. See if I could jump down a bit. I'll read these last two paragraphs and we'll end with that. It says, Swanson and Thomas told me that churches' failure to address Black parishioners' fears and sadness means they're neglecting a crucial area of ministry. Helping people lament and heal from trauma, Thomas said that his fellow pastors must resist the empty catharsis of platitudes and affirm brothers and sisters in the margin. As a pastor, he said, if you're doing the work of checking in, if you're doing the work of loving on your people, you'll notice who's missing. And that's true. Swanson said that he talks with his congregation about the effects of racism on Black Americans' physical, emotional, and psychological health and tries to mitigate the stigma associated with therapy. And therapy, that's something practical. Good for that brother. He may be moving with passion, but he's not doing it in knowledge. And that's what a lot of people in the Christian church are doing. They don't know how to help their people, but they have a passion. They have a passion for the Most High. It's just not with knowledge. And so, good for that pastor trying to do something practical for his people. But his works, it's gonna come to an end. Something that's not built on a rock, a house isn't built on a rock will fall, right?
Straight.
It'll just wash away when it rains. And so hopefully that brother, one day a seed can get planted. You can hear about the men and the women in the I.S.U.P.K. And those are the kind of brothers that we need. People ready to work, people ready to serve, people trying to make a difference, want to help their community. Right? This is the perfect place for you. And the last part says, most of the parishioners I spoke with are optimistic about joining another fellowship after leaving their congregation. No house of worship will be perfect, but Wright is certain that her next church will be on where the pastor has no problem saying Black Lives Matter. Salakia, Officer Urad, can you get me that verse that says, be ye therefore perfect?
Man.
And whenever you got it, go ahead and read it.
Con.
This pastor, he's not, he may be moving in passion, but it's not with knowledge. This is a pastor that said this. No house of worship will be perfect. That's a disgusting thing to say. Because Christ was perfect. The body of Christ is meant to be perfect. We're all supposed to be perfect. That's how we enter the kingdom. So he might be quoting his own feelings, but he's not quoting the Bible. He's not teaching what Christ taught. Go ahead and read him when you
Like it. Con. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, and verse 48. And it reads, be ye therefore perfect.
Be therefore what?
Perfect.
Read.
Even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect.
This pastor says no house of worship will be perfect. And all these people leaving these different church congregations, you just go on. You're gonna move into another denomination. You're gonna move into Islam. You're gonna move into worshiping Buddha. You're gonna constantly move from different church house to different church house, looking for something, because none of these places are perfect, right? I joined the I.S.U.P.K. I am never leaving this place. This place is perfect. The brothers and sisters here, they're perfect. When we first enter this body, there's a couple things we got to shake off. There's a couple things that we got to learn. But we have answers for our people. We have answers for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians.
Right.
Right? I'll stop with that article. I'll give a quick shout out to the chat. I see a couple brothers and sisters in the chat. Shalom, Janice Bellis, Yahal Shamar, Lathab, Hashem Yahushai. Thank you for tuning in. Officer Zabadia, my brother. Shalom, Ak, Yahal Hashem Yahushai Barakatah. The water for tuning in. And then we got Kazio Gaines, Shalom, Ak, Yahal Hashem Yahushai Barakatah. Looks like a young man checking in from Manassas, VA. I'm not sure where that is. You know where VA is? That Vermont, Virginia? I'm not sure where VA is from. Where VA is. But shalom to you for tuning in. I encourage you, go to class every night. Definitely a lot of wisdom to learn, right? A lot of knowledge and tools you can learn to apply to your life. So the water for tuning in. Make sure you take notes. You know what I mean? And just keep learning and growing in this truth. So Salakia, that's the end on that article. And yeah, this is Tuesday night's brotherhood. We're just getting into brotherhood. Right? These Christian churches, they're not doing anything for our people. Right? I saw another article today. It said, what is it? The Anglican, I think it's the Anglican denomination in Canada. They're preparing for that denomination to go extinct. I think they're estimating in like 10 years from now that they're gonna have no members. Right? And Christ said that a house that's not built on a rock is gonna fall. Right? And I'm sure once that falls, another denomination is gonna pop up. But none of these have the answer for our people. You know what I mean? Let's get into some scripture. 47. Slakia, can you grab 1 John chapter 4 and verse 20 for me? Right. Brother is the foundation of Christ's teaching. Right? The foundation of what Christians call the gospel, the good news. Right? That's what Christ came and taught. He taught brotherhood. That is what the good news is. It's for all the 12 tribes of Israel to unite, right? To come back together under Christ.
Wow.
Right? That is the gospel. That is the good news. Go ahead and read that verse when you got it.
Wow. It's the book of 1 John, chapter 4 and verse 20. If a man say, I love God, and hated his brother, he's a liar. For he that loveth not his brother, whom he has seen, how can he love God, whom he has not seen?
God. Just in the easiest words to put that is really simple. You can't hate your brother and love the Most High. Right? You can't do it. And in order to love the Most High, it starts with learning to love yourself. Right? Can you grab Matthew 22 and 36 for me?
Con.
Right. This brother class, it's about coming together. It's about reclaiming our culture, doing what the Lord says to do. Right. We got to learn to love our brothers. And we're not going to be able to do that until we learn to love ourselves, until we learn to love the Most High.
So, you say that Matthew 22 and 36?
Con.
Con. I got you. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 22 and verse 36. Master, which is the great commandment in the law?
Right. So one of Christ's disciples was asking him, like, what's important? Right. What are we supposed to do? What is a great commandment in the law? Read.
Con. Verse 37. And Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind.
Right. Like, love for the Most High is something that's heavily misunderstood. Right. The Christian church did a terrible job with this whole book in general. They just butchered it. But because of Christianity, a lot of people in the Christian church, they don't know what it means to love. Right. And outside the Christianity, being raised in the society, right, we're taught by our peers on what love is. We're taught by our teachers in the school system what love is. We're taught by our friends and our friends' parents, and watching TV and everything that we see in this kingdom, right? That's what teaches us what love is. But according to God, love is something. Love is keeping the commandments, right?
That's
And
right.
Second John chapter 1 and verse 6, it tells you what love is, right? There's a couple verses in the book of First John and Second John that tells you loving the Most High is obedience. Loving the Most High is keeping the commandments, right? So we gotta love the Most High with all our heart, our mind, and we do that by putting Him first in everything, right? Every decision we make, He has to be on our mind. If we're gonna take a job, we're looking for a wife, how to discipline our kids, how to raise our kids, where we're gonna live. We have to put the Most High first in everything, right? We got to constantly, there's a verse that says to meditate on His laws always, day and night, right? Since the time I woke up to this truth, I don't think I could ever put this Bible down. Verses are constantly just going in and out of my head, right? I'm ridding myself of the brainwashing of Christianity, right? The Most High stays on my mind. And for most brothers, probably almost every brother that's coming into this truth, every brother in the I.S.U.P.K, when we joined the I.S.U.P.K, we were on the bottom. We came from a place where we had nothing. We came from a place where we lost everything, right? We came from a place where we were destroyed, and holding on to the Most High is everything, right? A lot of us don't have an option. We're serving the Most High. We don't have a choice. We do it because we have to, right?
Con, if I could.
So, Khan, go ahead.
Salaki, I just want to reference to what you're bringing out is so heavy. And if I could, right, like people think that the commandments, and the Christian church has helped. We can give thanks to the Christian church. You know what I'm saying, for teaching our people not to follow the commandments of the Most High, and that the law is gone away with, and all this sort of craziness, right? Which is essentially not brotherhood. But in the Old Testament, in Deuteronomy chapter 6, it speaks all about, and throughout the whole Bible, of course, but and specifically, I was just reading on that earlier. Deuteronomy chapter 6. It talks about the whole chapter is about the commandments. You know, so like that's all I wanted to comment on it. So like,
right. God, that's exactly it. And like I said, like just to piggyback off what you're saying, like we got to rid ourselves of all the stuff that we learned in the world, right? That pastor was talking about how he doesn't want to alienate his congregation. No, we have to alienate ourselves. We have to be holy. We have to be separate, set apart, right? Officer Zabadi said in the chat, he said, let them doors close and stay closed, right? Well, shut the Christian church down. That's what has to happen, right?
God,
And not just literally, like I think my brother's saying, but even figuratively, like you got to separate your mind and you got to rid yourself from all those things that you were taught in there, right? Leave it all behind. Leave it all behind. See the scripture that says, "Don't mix old wine with new." You can't mix old wine with new, right? You got to throw out the old wine first, right? We got to close that chapter in our lives and move forward. Scriptures tell us that keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, that's how you love the Most High, right? And this is the word that we got to stand on. Keep reading.
God. So like at verse 38. This is the first and great commandment.
All right, read.
Verse 39. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right. Grab Leviticus 19 and 17 for me, Baba Kasha. Right. We gotta love our brothers as ourselves. And that would be, it's a very easy concept to grasp. It's a very easy concept to understand once you learn how to love the Most High. Right? Once you learn how to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, right, which is the first and great command, you're learning obedience. You're learning how to take order. You're learning how to follow instructions. And when you can learn to love the High, loving your brother is an easy concept because every verse in this Bible that tells you how to love your brother, it's just another commandment. Don't steal from your brother, right? Don't lust after another brother's wife. These are commandments given to us so that we can govern ourselves as a society, right?
Sure.
Treat each other properly. Treat each other with love and respect and dignity and courtesy, Salakia. And it's an easy thing to grasp once we learn to love the Most High. And that's why Christ taught these two things. Right? Brotherhood's everything. UPK says it. Brotherhood's a weapon. Salakia. Young man Cosmo said the church is full of pimps and whores. Damn right. Damn right.
God. That's right. That's right, young man. That's right.
That whole place has to be destroyed. Yeah? Christian church isn't doing anything for our people. Go ahead and read that verse when you got it.
God. Leviticus 19, verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him.
Come. Right? This is what Christ was teaching. This is what Christ was quoting from. Right? The law of brother, you are not allowed to hate your brother in your heart. You can't do it. You want to be a disciple of Christ, you want to follow Christ, you cannot hate your brother in your heart. And this is what Christ was quoting from. And the Christian church likes to teach us that your neighbor or your brother is everybody in the world. But we're going to show you who your brother is according to Christ and according to this law. Keep reading.
Verse 18. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, as I am the Lord.
Right. The children of thy people is your brother. Right?
Time.
That's who we have to love. This is who Christ was telling us we have to love. Right? Verse 17 said we're not allowed to hate our brothers in our heart. That's a law about brotherhood. You cannot hate your brother in your heart. And when he tells you to rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him, this is something that we have to learn as a nation of people. A part of brotherhood is learning to communicate with each other, learning to open our mouths and say something when something's troubling us. Right? Your brother does something to you, let him know. Open your mouth. Be respectful. Just have a conversation. Have a dialogue. You don't have to be petty. You don't have to be yelling, right? You don't got to be cussing and elevate the conversation to 100 that a lot of us like to do, right? Part of brotherhood is governing our emotions, getting our emotions in check, right? We got to learn to communicate with each other as a people, right? This is something Christ commands us to do. And this society has taught us to be passive, right? That's why a lot of marriages are failing today. This is why a lot of brothers aren't getting along today, because when someone does something to you, you just want to keep quiet. You think being quiet, saying nothing about it, just saying in your mind, I'll just let this one slide, is gonna bring some kind of peace uh, in our nation. It's not. Right? The scripture says not to bear a grudge against the children of thy people.
That's right.
You can't just let things build up. We can't let one ought against a brother happen, say nothing, and then something else happens, say nothing. And then by the third time you blow up, and now the brothers are fighting with each other. Right? Something happens to you, somebody does something to you, speak your mind, be respectful. Right? Let them know you didn't like what happened. You didn't like what they did to you. Work it out and move forward. Right? We got to deal with our issues. Right? We have to learn to communicate with each other. And we got to forgive our brothers and sisters, right? Can you grab Deuteronomy chapter 4 and 9 for me?
Right. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 9. And it reads, only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently.
Right. Only take heed to thyself. You got to pay attention to yourself. Like, a part of brotherhood, we really have to watch how we carry ourselves, how we conduct ourselves. Right? We gotta watch who we let in our circle. We gotta watch who we let around us. The type of brothers and sisters that we chop it up with. Like, we have to take heed to ourselves. We have to be mindful of everything that we're doing. Right? We got to be careful about how people outside the truth influence us. Right? We can't let brothers and sisters we used to chop it up with influence us to go back in the world. Right? All the brothers and sisters in this truth, like, we made a conscious change. We're working hard to shut ourselves of that old man. Right? You're a young man, you do your 90 days, you get your name, hold on to that. Right? Continue growing, continue pushing forward. Constantly watch yourself, monitor yourself, who you let around you. Right? Keep reading.
God. That's what. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 9. Salakia. Lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen,
Right.
and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life.
Right. Like, you start chopping it up with one of the old homies. Right. You might forget about some of the things you've seen in this truth. Right? You came into this truth, you did your 90 days, you changed your life. Right? You gained some brothers, you gained a father. Right? We got to remember about all the miracles that the I.S.U.P.K has done for us. Right? A lot of brothers are struggling with addictions before this truth. Right? A lot of brothers struggling with relationships. And coming into the UPK, we found solutions for this. We found a lot of solutions to our problems. Right? We can't forget those things that we've seen.
That's right.
Right? It's important to remember the things that we've seen. And that's why we got to be so careful about who we let around ourselves. We got to be careful about all the things that we're doing. All right, keep reading.
Kana. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons.
Right. Like, coming into the UPK, this doing the Lord's work, being a part of the Lord's army, learning how to be a leader. Right. Some of us being a leader for the first time over our families or our wives. Right. Everything going on that we've seen in this truth, it has to be so much bigger than ourselves. Right? Doing the Lord's work is way bigger than ourselves. And we got to leave this legacy to our children. We got to leave this legacy to our kids. We joined this body. We've made all these changes. Right? We're seeing all these brothers coming out of prison, changing their lives. Like, we got to hold on to that. We got to remember the things that we've seen change. And we got to leave that legacy to our kids. Right? There's something a lot bigger than what we see in front of ourselves. You just want to go out on a Friday night and, maybe you're just going out to play ball with some of the old homies, and next you know, it's 11, 12 at night, the park lights are going down, and they're like, yo, let's roll. We want to head to X, Y, and Z. Leave that alone, man. You know what I mean? You already know what they're about. You know what they're going to do. You've changed your life. Hold on to that. Because 40 years from now, you might have 7, 8 kids running around. that grow up in this truth. And they might go on to change a whole bunch of people's lives. Imagine all the work you did as one man. You got 8 kids. You might have 4 sons. You raise them up in this truth. You know what I mean? They're going to be better than what you did. They didn't go through all the hardships that you had to go through to learn, to get to where you are. Right? If I could go back 10 years in my life, I wish I was in this truth 10 years ago. I would have escaped so much heartache and drama in my life.
True.
Right? We got to leave that legacy to our kids. Doing the Lord's work is a lot bigger than what we see in front of us.
Great.
Can you grab 1 Timothy chapter 4 and 16 for me?
Fine. It's the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 4 and verse 16. And it reads, "Take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine."
Read that again.
Take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine.
One more time.
Take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine.
Right. No matter how long we're on this walk, like, we got to remember what it was like when we first started this journey. When we first joined the I.S.U.P.K, we got to remember what it was like. All the things that we were doing before we got in this body. Like, we got to monitor ourselves. We got to monitor what we're doing. Right? And we got to remember the doctrine. Right? Like, I don't know about you, brothers. I bet it's the same for you that it is for me, but this truth changed my life.
That's great.
Right?
That's
Before I came in this truth, I was in a ditch in my car drinking down 3 full bottles of liquor. You know what I mean? Like, if I didn't put away the things that I was doing before this truth, I'd be dead by now. Right? This truth changed all of our lives. And we got to constantly watch ourselves. We got to constantly take heed to ourselves. Monitor what we're doing. You know what I mean? Keep reading. Did you finish the verse?
nah.
Oh, come. Keep reading.
Come. For in doing this thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee.
Right. For in doing what? We're continuing in the doctrine. We're continuing in what we were taught. Right? We got to watch ourselves, monitor ourselves, and continue in the things that we were taught from the men above us. And in doing so, we find safety. Right? Let's grab. Can you grab Ecclesiasticus chapter 12 and verse 1 for me?
Like it.
So I got a lot of verses, so I'm going to try to push through a bit because I don't know if we're going to get through all of it.
Baba Kashaf, can you repeat that?
Khan, Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 12 and verse 1.
I got it. What? This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12 and verse 1. And it reads, "When thou wilt do good, know to whom thou does it."
Right. We
So,
gotta. Slucky, what's that? Were you just reading?
No, yeah, that was a pause there.
Okay, Slucky, finish the verse. Go ahead with the verse.
So shalt thou be thanked for thy benefits.
Right. Again, taking heed to ourselves, monitoring ourselves, watching what we're doing. This is how we love ourselves. This is how we monitor ourselves, we watch ourselves, what we're doing. This is how we love the Most High. And in loving the Most High, we learn to love ourselves, right? And one of the ways you love yourself, when it says no to who you do it to. Like, we can't just be hanging around any and everybody. You're gonna do good to a righteous person, right? The Most High will reward you when you do good to somebody. He'll also reward you when you do evil, right? And he's telling us, do good to the righteous man, so thou will be thanked for thy benefits. Keep reading.
Kind of. Verse 2. Do good to the godly men.
Do good to the who?
Godly men.
Do good to the godly man, right? Don't, like, we can't be going into crack houses and handing out $100 bills to crackheads, right? You got a brother or old friend, old homie that you used to hang out with, right? You gotta watch how you help that brother. You gotta watch what you do for that brother, right? The Lord might have a purpose and a plan for that brother's life, and if you're constantly saving him from what the Lord is trying to do to him, you could be holding that brother back from getting in the I.S.U.P.K. Right? The Lord had a plan and a purpose for all our lives. Well, he tells us, do good to the godly man. Right? Keep reading.
Kind of. Do good to the godly men, and thou shalt find a recompense.
Right. Slacky officer, do you know what a recompense is?
Kind of. It's like almost like, how do I want to say it? Recompense is like something you get back from doing. When you do something good for somebody, you get something good back in return.
Right. Like, recompense is a repayment. You do good to a righteous brother or sister, you are going to get repaid. You are going to get reparations. You're going to receive something back for helping that brother. Right? And if not from him, you'll get it from the Most High. Right? If there's a young man that comes in this truth, or a trooper, right, he receives his name, you help that brother out. You know what I mean? That brother might do something real with that money. You help him out financially, you might get him off the street, and next you know he's a priest and officer under Commanding General YAHANNA, changing lives. You clean a righteous brother up, he's gonna do something. You're gonna see him work miracles. You're gonna see him raise the dead, help the sick, reach out brothers that are in prison. That righteous brother is gonna do something. You help him out. Right? That's a great reward to see some Slakia. That's a great reward to see from the Most High. Right? I don't know. That's probably something that hypes me up the most, seeing a brother repent, change his life, and come in this truth. Every time I see another brother, every time I see another brother, a young man get his name, becomes a trooper, like everybody in Israel's rejoicing. That's a great reward. That's more than enough of a reward from the Most High.
That's right.
Right? Do good to a godly man. Do good to somebody who's trying to change their life. Do good to somebody who has changed their life. Right? You'll receive a reward from it.
That's right.
Keep reading.
Khan. And if not from him, yet from the Most High.
Right. Read.
Verse 3. There can no good come to him that is always occupied in evil.
Right. Somebody who's always occupied in evil. Right. That's a brother who's on the fence about joining the ISUPK. Right. That brother might watch one class a week. Maybe he watches Cross the Line. He learns a little about the culture, a little about what we're doing. But every time you go to ask that brother, yo, brother, why don't you come to class? You know what I mean? All you got to do is sign in every Saturday, right? Start meeting the brothers. Start studying a bit. Start checking in. And that brother's always giving an excuse of, not right now. I got other things I'm doing. Right? He's occupied in evil. Like I said, do good to a godly man. Do good to a righteous brother. Do good to somebody who's changing their life, who's committed to changing their life, who's committed to this truth, who's committed to following Christ. Right? Not somebody who just talks about it, where they're lukewarm, they're half in, half out. Right? Keep reading.
Khan. Nor to him that giveth no alms.
Right. And same, and don't help that brother who doesn't give alms. Alms is support. You know what I mean? We're going out to camp, God willing, Most High willing, this Saturday. Right? You're a brother and you want to come out and help support us. Bring some water for us, help us carry signs. You know what I mean? You want to help out and support us? That's a righteous brother you give alms to. Or slacky. That's a righteous brother that you do good to. That's a righteous brother you help out. Somebody who supports this truth. Right? Don't help out somebody who's not supporting this truth, who's just talk, who's occupied in evil. Right? Keep reading.
Khan. Verse 4. Give to the godly man, and help not a sinner.
Right. Do good to the godly man. Don't help a sinner. Right? There's a man above me who had a great quote. He said, "A lot of us brothers in here, we're Captain Save-A-Hole." You know what I mean? We see a damsel in distress and we wanna help her out. I know that's something I struggled with in the past. Right? You see a sister who's being abused, or you see a sister who's in a bad situation, and you want to help her out financially or come save her from her situation. You know what I mean? And next, you got a you got a whole mess of evil and problems in front of you, right? Like I said, God could have a plan for that brother or sister. And if you're gonna get in the way of what Yahweh is trying to do with that brother or sister, right? You're going to be rewarded for it. You're rewarded for doing good, you're rewarded for doing evil. And this first commandment to love the Most High with all our heart, we got to love Him. By doing that, we love ourselves. We have to learn how to love ourselves. We have to learn who to let in our lives. We can't just be bringing all types of evil people in our circle, right? Don't help a sinner. All right, keep reading.
Verse 5. Do well unto him that is lowly, but give not to the ungodly.
Right. There's a difference between somebody who's down on their luck, just struggling with something, and somebody who is constantly making excuses about staying in their sin, right? Like there's some people that you know in the world where they've never asked you for a thing. And if they come ask you for some help, you might never see them at your doorstep again. Like they might never need something from you again. They're probably gonna repay you a month from now for you helping that person out because they were genuine, they were sincere, right? Do well unto them that is lowly. Someone who's lowly, they're just down on their luck, right? They're not always in that state. They're not lazy by nature, you know? Something just happened to them for a small time in a season. Help those people out. But there's a difference between the brother who asks you every month with a new excuse about some new hustle that they want to get into, some new business they want to start, or some new hustle or something to make some quick cash, and they're asking you for some handout, right? Don't help out those people that are ungodly. Keep reading.
God, hold back thy bread
All right,
and
hold your.
give it,
Keep reading.
God, hold back thy bread and give it not unto him, lest he overmaster thee thereby.
Right. I'm sure everybody watching has given money to somebody, and you never saw that money again. They said they were going to repay you. That person disappeared. You know what I mean? And what this verse is saying is, don't let people get over on you. Don't let people hustle you. Don't let people run game and get over on you. This is Christ telling you, or slack you. This is the Most High telling you, you got to love yourself. Be wise. Be smart. Watch who you deal with. Right? And if you're gonna get into business with somebody who's ungodly or somebody who's unrighteous, be prepared to get screwed over. Be prepared to get hustled. Right? Keep reading.
God, let's see right there. For for else thou shalt receive twice as much evil
Ooh.
for all the good that thou shalt have done unto him.
For all the good you've done for this brother or sister, to this unrighteous, ungodly person, you're going to be rewarded with evil. Right? Twice as much evil you're gonna receive. Right? Don't help an ungodly person. We got to learn to love ourselves. Keep reading.
God, verse 7. or Salakia.
Verse 6.
Verse 6. For the Most High hated, for the Most High hated sinners.
The Most High hates who?
Sinners.
The Most High hates who?
Sinners.
The Most High hates sinners. This is why you don't help the ungodly, man.
Salakia.
Khan, go ahead.
But love God, Salakia. God loves everyone. He loves everyone.
La.
Right?
Not only does Yahweh hate the sin, Yahweh hates the sinner. Right? We got to tear down the lies of the Christian church. Right? The Christian church is the place you go to get screwed over. The Christian place is a place you go to let people get over on you. The Most High tells you to love yourself. The Christian church teaches you how to hate yourself. The Most High hates sinners. Right? He has judgment for these people. He has a plan coming for these people. We got to stay away from that. Let the Most High deal with these people. Right? Keep reading.
Okay. For the Most High hated sinners and will repay vengeance unto the ungodly, and keepeth them against the mighty day of their punishment.
Right. The Most High hates sinners. And he has judgment and punishment coming for these people. Right? Let the Lord deal with these people. Right? Somebody comes up to you with some puppy dog eyes about they need help with this, need help with that. Leave those people alone, man. You got to leave them alone because you got to learn to love yourself. Not just learn to love yourself. You have to love yourself. Right? Can't just let people get over on you. Right? Don't keep house with a sinner. Right? And maybe the Lord will change their life just like he changed our lives. Right? They just have something they might need to learn. Keep reading.
Give, chapter 7, verse 7. Give unto the good and help not the sinner.
Salakia, officers of Badia. Can't save no hoes. My cape got holes in it. Most High in Christ. That's how you love yourself, brother. Salakia. Right. Give unto the good, help not the sinner. Right? Help the righteous man. Help the godly man. Help the brothers and the sisters in the I.S.U.P.K. Help the people that have changed their lives and are committed to doing good. You'll receive a reward for it. Right?
That's right.
Right? Can you grab Matthew 5:29 for me? Babakasha?
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 29. And reads, and if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members shall perish.
Right. Slakia, can you jump up to verse 28 for me?
Verse 28. But if I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart.
Right. Like, again, we got to learn to love ourselves. We have to love ourselves. This is brotherhood. We'll be able to love our brothers, our neighbors as ourselves once we learn to love ourselves, right? And what's heavy about this verse is Christ was telling somebody, he was giving them the spirit behind the law of adultery. One of the things he was saying is, if you're desiring to sleep with another brother's wife, you know that she belongs to another man. He's saying, cut your right eye out so that it doesn't offend thee, right? Pluck it out, cast it out from thee. Now, this isn't a literal thing, but I got a quick story. It's just, there was one sister that was on my Facebook, and I knew, and we got to watch ourselves with a lot of this social media, this and that, because I knew this sister had a head, and I ended up seeing a picture of her that she posted where she was revealing herself a little bit. And this is a good looking sister. So I see this picture and I changed the page because I'm a little caught off guard that she's revealing herself in that way. And so I move on because I don't really talk to her or the brother, right? We don't have business talking with another man's wife anyway. Right? A lot of these women, there's no need for them to be on our Facebook and stuff. But the first time I saw it, I left it alone. I didn't say anything. And the second time I saw it happen again, and I'm like, this is a good looking sister. And I have no intentions of offending the Most High. I have no intentions of lusting after this brother's rib. So she's got to go. She's deleted. She's off my Facebook. There's no need for me to have a conversation or look at that woman. So when he says cut your right eye, it's not a literal thing, but there's a spirit behind the law. There's a spirit about how we carry ourselves.
Right.
Slaki. There's a spirit about how we carry ourselves. And it's so important that we govern ourselves. Take heed to thyself in everything that we do. Because this is what the whole law revolves around. Loving the Most High, loving ourselves, and by that we love our brothers. Right?
Okay, good. It's like it. It's so heavy.
Reading in verse 29.
So like it. Can you hear me? Salakia, can you hear me? Salakia, I think we're lagging a little bit.
Slakia, can you hear me?
Khan.
Okay, Khan, go ahead with verse 21. Baba Kasha.
Khan, verse 29. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members shall perish, and not the whole body should be cast into hell.
Right. It's better to take out your eyes than your whole body to be destroyed. And what this is talking about is that we have to be willing to sacrifice. And if you are willing to sacrifice things in this life, you will be rewarded for it. Right? Every brother in here is trying to get the kingdom. If you are willing to sacrifice, if you are willing to go to war with your flesh, the things that you desire, right, you will be rewarded for it. So like I said, that's a parable. I'm not telling any brother in here to go cut their eyes out or cut their arms off. But if there's something that you need to sacrifice in life, you got to cut your internet off or whatever because it's causing you to do something, right? It's better to do that than for your whole body to be destroyed, right? It's better to do that for when these nukes come down, they come to destroy Babylon, that we're not a part of that, right?
All right.
Slakia. Just shout out to the chat. Abe Williams, Salakia Trooper, Alwa, Alwaraya, Salakia, Alwaraya. Powerful name, brother. Tawada for tuning in, checking in from Houston, Texas. Salakia, where we at? Can you grab Luke chapter 14 and verse 27? Baba Kasha. We're definitely gonna run out of time. Where should I jump to?
Fine. This is the book of Luke, chapter 14 and verse 27. And read, and whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple.
Khan. Slakia, read that again.
Fine. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple.
Khan. You wanna follow the Most High, you wanna follow Christ, you have to bear your cross. You have to be willing to sacrifice. Right? And by sacrificing, like I said, a great reward is coming for that. Keep reading.
Fine. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counted the cost, whether he gave sufficient to finish it?
Right. Right. You're building a house, you gotta count your cost. Right? Nobody prepares for war and doesn't prepare to lose soldiers. We have to be willing to sacrifice. We're going to war. You want to follow Christ, you have to bear your cross. You have to count the cost of what it's going to take to follow Christ. You have to be willing to sacrifice. And this is how you love yourself. And Salaki, jump up to verse 26.
Verse 26. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple.
Right. You have to put the Most High first in this box. You have to be willing to sacrifice your family. You have to be willing to sacrifice your own life. Whatever it takes to follow Christ, you got to be willing to get rid of that. In everything, the Most High comes first. Right? If your mother's getting in the way of you serving the Most High, right, you may have to break that relationship. Right? You can call her and say hi from a distance, But if every time you go to her house, she's serving pork chops and that's Christmas lights up, Christmas tree this, right? You have to stop going over on those days. You have to stop going over to your parents' house near Christmas time. If all she's serving is pork, get some food before you go there. And if she doesn't want to let you leave until you eat that pork, leave the house. If you offend her, so what? The Most High comes first, right? And if that unfortunately messes with your relationship, right, then so be it. But the Most High has to come first in everything, right? Um, let's grab jump down to verse 33.
Come on, verse 33. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he had, he cannot be my disciple.
Right. Like I said, we got to be selfish in this truth. By being selfish, by worrying about yourself, by learning to love yourself, by loving yourself, that's how you serve the Most High. Right? That's the first and great commandment. And we have to be willing to sacrifice. This verse says, be willing to sacrifice everything that we have. And I said earlier, like a lot of our brothers that are in the school today, we didn't have anything before coming in this school anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like what more do we have to give up? Right? The Most High brought us to a place to where He was preparing us for this truth. He was preparing us for this walk. Right? I know He made it easy for me. I didn't have much I had to give up. A lot of my relationships were already destroyed. Right? I was living in a small basement apartment, right? Just me at my job, lonely as hell. I didn't have much to give up, right? And the Most High brought me to that place. But we have to be willing to sacrifice to serve the Most High. We have to be willing to sacrifice to be a disciple of Christ. I'm going to try to skip through some stuff. Good. 10 minutes. Grab Galatians chapter 6 and 7 for me, Baba Kasha.
Yeah. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 6. Let him, Galatians chapter 6, verse 6. Let him that is taught in the world, Salakia.
Salakia. Chapter 6 and verse 7.
Oh, verse 7, Salakia. Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. Chapter 6 and verse 7. And he reads, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth.
God is not mocked, right? Like in the Christian church, they mock the Most High. Oh. Slack it. The Most High is not mocked. Right? In the Christian church, they mock the Most High all day because they think they can do whatever they want regardless of what this book says. and the Most High is going to be with them. Right? The Most High is not mocked. Whatever he says will come to pass. If he says don't eat shrimp, crab, or lobster, don't eat shrimp, crab, or lobster. Don't think the Most High is going to stand for anything else. Right? And when it says, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So, like I said before, you help a man, you help an ungodly man, you help an unrighteous man, you're going to be repaid with evil. You're going to be rewarded for evil. You help a godly man, you're going to be rewarded with good. You make righteous sacrifices, serve the Most High, serve Christ, you plant good seeds, you're going to have a good harvest. You're going to see good things appear in your life. You start making good decisions, you're going to see a healthy marriage. You're going to see healthy relationships. You're going to have kids. You're going to be blessed with obedient kids that listen to you, that serve the Most High. Right? So Salaki, just for time's sake, let's grab I'm gonna grab one or two more verses.
Con.
Salaki, let me see where I want to go. Can you grab Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 20?
Con.
And then we'll end with almost time. Maybe we got 3 more verses. Salaki, go ahead with Proverbs 19 and verse 20.
Con. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 19 and verse 20. And I read, hear counsel and receive instructions, and thou mayest be wise in thy latter end.
Right. Counsel is one of the things this school is built off of. Right? And the reason I bring up counsel is because what we're teaching about this brotherhood, about loving the Most High and loving our brothers as ourselves, in everything that we do, we're going to learn to be better brothers and sisters. We're going to learn how to love ourselves more righteously. We're going to learn how to treat our brothers more righteously when we inquire of the men above us, when we receive counsel from men who have learned how to apply these scriptures, and they teach us how to apply these scriptures into our life, right? Like, this is one of the foundations of this whole school. It's going to a man who's above you, another man who has rank, and learning and listening to that brother, receiving his instruction, right? You're a young man, learn from an older brother. Learn from a brother who's been in this truth 10 years. And Commanding General YAHANNA, he's set up a council department. Like, this is one of the foundations and pillars of this school. We have trained counselors that will give us advice and instruction on our everyday life. Right? These counselors are asked thousands of different questions, and every other brother and sister in this school has already been through. They're asking questions that 1,000 other people ask, and they have the answers for us. They have counsel. They have wisdom and guidance and instruction to give to us. You want to learn how to love yourself, ask the man above you. Ask for counsel. You want to learn how to love your brother, ask counsel. They'll tell you. They'll teach you. And we got to receive that instruction. Right? In verse 20, it says, "Hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayst be as wise in thy latter end." So that when we're done walking out this life, when we've seen 30, 40 years go by, right? We see a wise brother. You ask for counsel in everything. That's how this nation grows. That's how we move forward. That's how we move past problems in our community. Right? Let's grab. Go ahead with verse 21.
Verse 21. It reads, "There are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless,"
Okay. There's a whole bunch of things going on in our minds. There's so much devices in a man's heart. Like, you could have nostalgia with your parents, a personal weakness with your mom, your dad, how they make you feel, and that affects the way you make decisions, right? A device could be your emotions. You can't get your emotions in check. Your fear, your jealousy, or your hatred, all these things are going on in your mind, and these devices affect the way you make decisions, right? Damn near every brother and sister in the school, the device is the traumatic experience they had as a young kid. And every decision you make is based off of that traumatic experience, right? You're a child who was molested at a young age. Now you make decisions surrounding being molested. Like that's a normal thing to go through. Like that's a normal thing for your everyday life. And these devices are so crippling, right? You're making decisions based off of fear or hatred, jealousy, emotions, trauma, right? That's not a good way to live your life. That's not a good way to make an informative decision. If you want to be a person who's wise and makes good decisions, you have to be able to receive instruction, right? The example I always use is the stove. You tell your 6-year-old child, don't touch a hot stove so you don't get burned. That child listens to you, he will be wise. He will be counted wise. He will walk around and he will never put his hand on that stove. That is how you gain wisdom. That is how you become wise. You want to start a new business? Ask for counsel. You've never ran a business before? Ask for counsel. Inquire of somebody who's run 10 different businesses, right? Get knowledge from somebody above you who did it in a righteous way, who didn't tear down his brothers and sisters in the process, who loved himself, who didn't let people get over on him in the process. That's what the men in the I.S.U.P.K are here for, to give counsel and instruction. This is how you become wise. And if you can receive instruction for the rest of your life, good night. 30 years from now, you will have accomplished a lot of things, right? I've wasted a lot of years. Slovakia. I wasted a lot of years being held back to where I am today. I could have saved myself from a lot of different traumatic experiences, right? We don't get wise from trauma. We get wise from taking instruction. We don't become wise from learning things the hard way. We become wise from listening to people. Right? Let's grab one more verse and we'll end the class. Can you grab we'll go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 37 and verse 13 in the Apocrypha.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 37 and verse 13.
Khan.
And it reads, "And let the counsel of thy own heart stand. For there is no man more faithful unto thee than it."
Right. At the end of the day, counsel is counsel. Counsel is advice. Right? And you don't have to listen to it. Right? But I strongly encourage every brother and sister in this school. You ask the man above you. Ask somebody who's been through it before for counsel. Right? And you'll receive instructions on how to live your life. You'll receive instruction on how to make wise decisions. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. And if you make a good decision, you'll be rewarded for it. If you make a poor decision, you're going to feel the consequences. Right? So, Salaki, with that, I'm going to end the class. And then get into the security announcements, and we'll see. Hold on. So we are the I.S.U.P.K. Started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithe, which is a commandment. Numbers, you can see that in Numbers 18, verse 21, or Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. Means 10th in the Hebrew. That's ma'ashra, means 10th in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the Treasury Department or teacher. For the priest fund, free will offering for priests is not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give, please give. Upcoming holy convocations. We got the Passover coming up. Passover's coming up. It's right around the corner. So back in 1 minute. Passover is right around the corner. Shalom, Israel. The Lord's annual Passover is around the corner, hosted by Commanding General YAHANNA on April 24th Street in Houston, Texas. Start making preparations now. This year's annual Passover will be held at the BH Ranch, 14149 Player Street in Houston, Texas. Hotel arrangements. Shalom Israel for the 52nd annual Passover. Commanding General YAHANNA has blocked off an entire dual hotel at the Staybridge Suites and Holiday Inn Express. Please message or contact your camp leader. For Canada, that's Officer of 5,000 Aban. And you can get further details regarding the Passover. And with that, we're going to salute out. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers and one courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, I.M.A.D.I.M, which means stand. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the Akim first. Men of Israel, I.M.A.D.I.M Shabbat. Imadium, Barak, Yahweh Shem Shai Barak Atham, Imadium or Yadiam Matah means hands down. We're going to give a courtesy salute to all the sisters, men of Israel, Imadium Shabbat, Imadium, Barak, Yahweh Shamar Alatha, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Yadiam Matah, which means hands down. Class dismissed.